Quick disclaimer before I start this video. I am not a financial advisor. Any financial advice that I'm giving in this video is just my own personal opinions. If you're ever going to invest in something, you should always do your own research. Seek professional financial advice, not from some random YouTube video. So last year I ended up buying stock in 2k, or basically Take-Two Interactive, which is the parent company that makes the NBA2k franchise games. And I ended up doing pretty good. I ended up making about, somewhere between 25 to 28% gains over the year after my brokerage fees on my initial investment in NBA2k. So I felt pretty good. But I really wanted to share the story about how I even got to that point, why I invested in 2K, why I'm currently not invested in the company, and what I'm looking forward to in the future. So for me, it all started back in the 9th grade when I decided that I wanted to play in the NBA. And that dream quickly went away because I didn't make my 9th grade team. And then when I did make the team, my 10th grade year, I sat on the bench most of the year. So making the NBA seemed like a dream that was never going to happen. I actually never grew past 6 feet. So it was very, very much a long shot for me to even get to the NBA. But while I was in school, I did develop a love for basketball and eventually decided that what I actually wanted to do was coach. Basketball coaches for me were like fathers I never had, and really inspired me in many ways to be the man that I am today. So I knew that basketball would always be a part of my life. Now, I went through about a 8-year period in my life where I was really away from the game, doing other things. And I keep telling I'm going to share a story time about how I joined a cult, and I'll get there one day. But yeah, there was about an 8-year period where I just wasn't around the game. But when I finally, came back to the game, I really decided that and knew that basketball was sort of like my first love and what I really wanted to build my life around. And if I wasn't going to be in the NBA, that I wanted to give back to the game by teaching the kids who come after me. I always say this, is that I don't consider myself a fan of basketball. I consider myself a contributor of basketball. So what I try to do with my channel, try to, engage in thought-provoking debates or questions that, expand the mind of the basketball community. And I coach so that I can take what I've learned and what I am learning and try to teach it to the next generation. So again, I don't consider myself a fan of the game. I consider myself a contributor of the game. But as I knew I wanted to build my life around basketball, I began to think to myself, well, I want to build my life around basketball, but I also want a family. And if I'm honest with myself, I want to be rich. Now, rich is relative and it depends on the person. I don't necessarily need to be a millionaire or a billionaire, but, I don't want my kids to grow up the way that I grew up. And I knew that in order to do that, I needed to make a lot of money and obviously be good with money. But that's where the problem lied. How on earth was I going to become rich or well off, whatever term that you want to use, if I was simply going to be a high school basketball coach? I mean, my first high school basketball coaching job, I think they paid me a little bit over $1,000 my first season there. So you think about, about 20 hours a week for 3 to 4 months and you get paid $1,000. I mean, do the math there. You're basically working for pennies per hour. So I began to think to myself, how am I going to make money? How am I going to build my life around basketball if I have to work a job that requires me to be away from the game? And so a lot of that had to do with how my life was already set up at the time. I had already been out of a job. I decided back in 2016 that I was never going to work a job again in my life. And so I stepped away from the rat race and, tried different business ventures and, got into direct sales, multi-level marketing, all the stuff you get into when you think you're, you're going to become rich overnight. I went through that whole phase and everything. But as I got older and wiser, I began to become more practical. And so I began to look at my schedule and how it related to basketball. And what I saw was I was spending about 5 hours a week playing pickup basketball. Probably spent another 5 to 10 hours a week playing 2K. Another 10 to 15 hours a week coaching. And probably another 5 to 10 hours watching basketball, including spending money to go see games. And so all in all, on an average week when it came to basketball, I was spending 25 to 40 hours a week playing, watching, or doing something around basketball. In a very real way, basketball was a part-time job. It was a full-time job during the winter months. And so I began to think, how am I going to draw income from this if there's no income except for the guys at the elite levels? And so that's why in 2016, 2017, I started my YouTube channel. And because I began to think to myself, well, if I'm going to be playing NBA 2K anyway, I might as well upload some videos and get paid for it. And I think still to this day, my 2K18 Jackson Baldwin series is, if you Google Jackson Baldwin, I still have the top ranking videos for that series. It was a MyGM series. And for those of you guys who've been around for a long time, you guys know that this channel started out as an NBA 2K channel. And so it was right around 2016 that I began to think, well, okay, now I'm uploading videos to YouTube, but the YouTube money, it's not really coming that good. I mean, even today, I've just gotten to the point where I'm making a few extra $100 per month, so I began to think, well, is there another way to make money from basketball without being an NBA player or a Division I coach or something like that? And so I began to say to myself, well, here I am playing 2K. I upload 2K to YouTube. And it was right around this time that I began to really get into day trading. And right now, one of the things I do for income is Forex trading. I trade Forex, I trade currencies, and that's a whole market in and of itself. But that's what I study on a daily basis and work on a daily basis. And it's why I'm able to not work a job at this point in my life. And so I began to say, well, I'm already studying markets. Why don't I look at investing in stock? I mean, I play 2K. I upload 2K. People watch me play 2K. I give 2K all my money for VC and all this stuff every year. I need to be making money from 2K is how I looked at it. And it's really interesting what happens in the NBA 2K community is every single year, NBA 2K drops. And what always happens, two things are always going to happen every single year that NBA 2K drops. Number one, people are going to spend money on the game. We know that's going to, from the day one, people are going to drop the money to get their guy to 85 overall, to buy all the accessories and all that stuff. And the other thing that always happens is you always have a bunch of YouTubers talking about how dead 2K is and how 2K is falling off the map and it's just a trash game. But every single year, what also happens is Take-Two and the NBA 2K franchise breaks records after record. And one of the things that a lot of these YouTubers who talk about how dead 2K is and why 2K is a worse game than ever before and it's a messed up company is they talk about the ads, right? They talk about ads and they talk about VC. And so the ads and VC were very interesting to me because the ads were interesting because when you turn on a game of 2K, you'll see all these ads. You'll see Twitch, you'll see Reese's Puff, you'll see Ruffles, Nike, Jordan, Under Armour. And I began to think to myself, well, if billion-dollar companies are paying money to be in this game, you would think there would be some type of return on investment for them. I mean, Nike wouldn't spend all this money giving licensing rights and advertising and Jordan and Reese's Puffs and Ruffles and Twitch and GameStop. They wouldn't be spending money on advertising in NBA 2K if they weren't seeing some type of return on investment. So that got me thinking. And then I thought about VC. Every year, people spend a bunch of money on VC. And as much as people complain about VC, they still buy it. People complain all they want, but then 2 days later, they'll make a video with their 90 overall, and the game has only been out for a couple weeks. We know how you got to 90 overall. You bought it. And so these two things began to really intrigue me, and I say, well, if billionaires are putting their money there and consumers are spending their money on it, there's got to be something here. And so it was really back in, I would say, before I invested, I would say I probably watched the 2K stock for about over a year before I actually invested in it and kind of got a feel for how it did throughout the year. And so finally, sometime in around March, I believe it was March 3rd. It was either March 3rd or March 5th. I believe it was around March 3rd, 2018, that I decided to put some money in on some 2K stock. And I think the price of the stock at that point was about $105. And so I bought some stock and then I just let it sit. And I pretty much stayed into the market right till about late September, early October, because I knew that, I forgot how I knew, but I had been doing a lot of research at that time. And I knew that something was going to happen to the entire market. To go back in the story a little bit, another thing that got me really intrigued was the 2K League. As I saw how popular the 2K League had begun. And then in that spring, when I saw that, I think in 2018, I believe there were like 5 or 6 more NBA teams that had decided to start 2K League teams. I was like, there's something here. We got Nike, Under Armour, we got all the shoe companies, cereal companies, investing in advertising in this game. And now we got billion-dollar NBA franchises investing in this game. And for me, it was just a no-brainer. I was like, if the billionaires are putting their money here, I'm going to put my money here. And that wasn't the only reason, but that had a big reason. Again, I have been watching the stock for over a year. I have been reading on the stock market, kind of learning about stocks and the currency market and different type of markets myself. And so I decided to go ahead and invest. And like I said, I invested at about 105 and just sort of rode it all through the spring and all through the summer and then into the fall, and was really excited about the fall launch because I just watched as my stock kind of grew and grew and grew. And I stayed in it to about, I think I got out at somewhere around the 130 mark. I think it peaked at around 140. And I think it touched that, and then I got out right about 135. So I ended up getting like a 25% return on my investment in investing in 2K right before the market kind of crashed, And so now what I'm doing is 2K is kind of take a big hit. Actually, the entire video game market has taken a big hit because of Fortnite. And EA and Activision, all these guys have taken big hits since September because of Fortnite. But I really like the 2K, the Take-Two interactive portfolio with Red Dead Redemption had a fantastic release. 2K is killing the basketball market. So I feel really good about the stock, and I'll probably jump back into the stock again. Like I said, right now it's in like the low 90s. And I'll probably try to get back in here in the next few weeks or so, anticipating that in March they'll have good releases and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to share that story with you because for me, it was simply about what am I using my time to do? And for me, your time is the most valuable thing that you have. And if you are using your time to play basketball, it's something you love to do and something you would do for free anyway. then figure out some type of way to monetize what you love. I love playing NBA 2k, so I started to upload YouTube videos, and that's making me a few extra $100 a month. And then I decided to invest in the Take-Two interactive company, and that made me some money last year. And so just wanted to share that story with you guys, because I think going forward in the future, what we got to understand is that basketball is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, that means that money is constantly circulating in so many different areas of basketball. Every time you go to an AAU tournament, you see all these different advertisements. Well, someone paid to put their advertisement up there, even if it's just a real estate agent. Well, that's money exchanging hands. And so there is a way that if you love this game and you contribute to this game, and sometimes you don't even have to be a contributor. Sometimes you just got to follow the trail. But if there's some way you can contribute to basketball and people being able to play basketball, there is a way that you can make a living around basketball, but you don't have to be in the NBA. Because I think what's sad, and I talked about this in some of my other videos, is that I feel like a lot of kids are just being taught that the only way that you can make money off a sport is by being a professional athlete. But there are people who are making very good living, millions of dollars in the game of basketball, but they couldn't make a left-hand layup to save their life. So be on the lookout for that. Think about ways you can monetize what you love. And, that's my video today. Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you next time. Peace.